So what's going on, Vlog Talkers? Welcome to another Vlog Talk Fridays with myself and Yvonne. I have no idea what she is dressed up as. I don't know. Do you know?
Well, I felt that since Chris is not festively inclined, that I would be remotely festively inclined, so that way he doesn't feel as left out.
Okay, so as far as like the ghost stories, Yvonne has a lot more stories of things that have happened to her because I don't believe in that stuff. So I don't have any stories, I really don't. So she's going to talk about something that happened to her.
So Chris and I have different viewpoints when it comes to the supernatural or ghosts. I'm one who loves going to like haunted houses and plantations. I did that a lot in Louisiana, a lot. And I spent the night at the Myrtles plantation, and it's a very, very famous haunted house. And I could talk about my many strange occurrences that have happened just spending the night in places like that. However, I'm actually going to talk about my dad. My father had passed away in March of 2000. He died on his bed where he had passed out of an alcohol drug overdose. I had found out later by my ex-husband that he had been drugging him, and we had lived with him at the time, and I was actually the one who had found him deceased. And you know, he ended up haunting me for quite some time after his death. To be honest, in the beginning, I truly thought I was going mad. Things were happening in the house, and I couldn't explain them. At one point, I had 5 roommates, and you know, you might say, well, there's your explanation there. But then there were times that there was nobody in the house, and things would happen, I couldn't explain them. For example, there was this one light in the downstairs, I guess, family room. It hadn't worked in 15 years. I mean, like, did not work at all. Changed light bulbs, the whole 9 yards, didn't work. And then one day it came on. It was just on. No one was in my house. It just turned on, and it worked actually ever since that point.
Didn't you say other people saw it too?
Well, I mean, people knew that it worked after the fact.
No, not the light. The other people had seen your dad or something.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm getting to that point. I wrote a novel, remember? You said we made fun of it. I heard keys turning in the door. The front door's locked, and there'd be no one there. I would hear footsteps coming up the stairs. No one's home. I would hear just certain noises in the house, period, and there was nothing to explain the sounds. Like, I would check the whole house, I would check for people. I had cats, but none of them were ever inside the house. There was no animal to make these noises or anything. So after a while, I actually started seeing my father in the house. And I would see him in the hallway. I would see him passing by his bedroom door. I would see him standing on the balcony because I had French doors, so you could see out there. And then after a while, I'd see him standing above me in bed. And at this point, I really thought I was going crazy. I mean, like, before I was contemplating it, now I really thought I was crazy. And I didn't know who to talk about this. I mean, could you imagine trying to explain to somebody all these things? I mean, they'd honestly would have thought that my dad's death had gotten to me, and I was afraid that I would be hospitalized. And I had my son at the time who was 1 year old, and I just couldn't let that happen. So at first I tried, sadly enough, having a glass of wine before bed, and I would wear an eye mask, and I would just dismiss any notion of any kind of nonsense. And then one day, I started to notice that my son Julian, once again, 1 year old, he would start to wave, giggle, and babble, and he'd be looking like, if you were in his high chair, he'd be looking somewhere over here. Well, there's nothing over there. There's not a statue, not a painting. There was nothing there. And he was really actively engaged, like he was trying to conversate with whatever it is that he was looking at. And then there would be times where I had my dad's guitar out, and it was kind of, I mean, I don't know how to play the guitar, but it was just something there that I was connected to with my father. And I would notice Julian trying to touch it, trying to play with it. he would start talking to something near it, and once again, nobody's there, there's nothing there, you know. So I started to think how this is really, really odd, and I'm like, you know, is he talking to my dad, you know, and of course, this happened for 4 years. I mean, he had this ongoing thing for 4 years in 2 different states, and it stopped once he was 4 years old, or at least I didn't notice it any time after that, but will I ever know if that was the case? Well, no. I mean, Julian, I'm sure, has no recollection of what happened to him before he was 4 years old, so we'll never know. But then one day, my friend Michelle, who I had met at the phone company in June of 2000, so just 3 months after my dad's death, she basically had pulled me aside at work and says, you know, I have something really strange that I need to tell you. And she's like, I really just need to talk to you. So she pulled me aside and she tells me about this dream she had. And she had never, you know, obviously she'd never met my father. My father was dead. She'd never seen a picture of him, didn't know what he looked like, but she started to describe him to the T. I mean, like, exactly what he looked like, even what he was wearing, which was something that he actually wore frequently. So she started telling me that in her dream, my dad had come to her talking about how he knew he was basically trying to talk to me in all these sightings, but he knew that he was scaring me, and he wanted me to know that, you know, he was sorry for all the things that he had done to me, and that he wanted my forgiveness. He didn't want me to be scared. He wasn't there to hurt me, and he didn't want me to think that. He just wanted me to know that he loved me and that he was sorry. And it was really comforting to hear this from my friend, and also really disturbing and scary, you know, because this didn't make my life any easier. I mean, it made me feel less insane, but it started to mess with my head even more, and it was very emotional. I was just glad to know that I wasn't crazy, or at least not as much at this point. So then really, it got even more ironic. I come home that night, and I, you know, go to my room, you know, Julian's asleep, I think, at this point. And it was like, one by one, each one of my 5 roommates kind of popped into my bedroom and was like, hey, I need to talk to you about something. And they'd start to tell me how they saw my dad in the hallways, or how they would, you know, see him in different places, or weird things were starting to happen, or things were moving in their room, like they knew, I guess people have regular places to put things, and things would start to move. And finally, at the end of the night, since everybody had said this, I was like, okay, let's have a house meeting. So we had a house meeting. We all kind of hashed out what had gone on, or what had been going on, and we were all glad that none of us was insane. I mean, that was very important to us. Sanity is a good thing. So we were all kind of relieved that we weren't just seeing things, that things were actually going on, and thank God we weren't crazy. So my dad actively haunted me from the years 2000 to 2004, spanning not only in my house in Sacramento, California, but also in Fort Polk, Louisiana. So I don't know if my father has ever moved on. I don't really know what had happened, but definitely the images of my father that I remember seeing him, and all the weird things that have gone on, they will haunt me for the rest of my life. I just thank God that no one was ever harmed in any of the weird occurrences that had happened. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to take up too much time,
So I already know we're probably running like close to 10 minutes. So check out all my channel, or all my links down below for my channel, for my Facebook, my Google Plus, and my Twitter, and also check below for Yvonne's channel with her friend Ivy, and also check out the Vlog Talks pages on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and I don't think we have Google Plus yet. No, I don't think we have Google Plus yet. But I'll put all that information down in the link below. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will
have a happy and safe Halloween.
Thank you for cutting me off.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we will see you guys next Friday.